Hey everyone, God bless you guys. Thanks for being with us this next half hour or so. Such an honor to come into your homes and to spend time with you. We feel blessed that you watch the services and just you're a part of the ministry. You're part of our family. And so we thought we'd take a little time just to answer some questions. You're welcome to send some in, but we got quite a few here. But always blessed to have my beautiful wife of 38 years
38
now.
Years
38
now.
Amazing years.
That's right.
How you doing, Vic?
Hey, it's wonderful. It's always fun to come and just be able to kind of be in a more relaxed atmosphere and just be able to answer questions people are asking. And I hope we can answer them well. I hope we can help you out. You know, that's our heart, is to really just be an encouragement, to let you know we all face the same things. You know, we go through this life and we just have to continue to just keep our focus and our perspective in the right place, because I think that's the key to life, is really it's all about perspective and how we see things. And I know sometimes, Joel, in my life, I have to remind myself and I have to redevelop, I should say, that perspective. Like, I have to decide, how am I going to look at this situation?
Yeah.
And I have a choice to make. And so I think a lot of life is choosing how we see things and how we approach things. So I hope this helps people when we come, because that's our heart anyway. We just want to be an encouragement and actually a friend to you.
That's so good, Victoria, because I believe that. We talk about it a lot, that, you know, how you perceive life is how the day's going to go. You know, you focus on what's wrong. And I think all of us have something in our life that could cause us to be worried or upset or irritated. And I'm not saying we don't deal with it, but I do think, like Victoria's saying, you have to choose to focus on the good. And, hey, God, it's another day. We get to be alive and, you know, see that day as a gift. And always say, you know, don't focus on how big the problem is. How about how big our God is? And just to find the good things in your life. That grateful heart, to me, helps you to have the right attitude throughout the day. And so I hope you do that. And we're in a season.
It makes a difference, too, who you hang around and who you're spending your time with and investing your time in. Because I know there's people that it's hard for them to see the good. You know, maybe they haven't been raised to see the good and things like that. And so I think it's really important, you know, what we put ourselves into, how we go to church, how we get into community, because it can make all the difference in the world. But
I know.
I just wanted to say that because I think it's super important.
I have a lot of people, it reminds me of stories, but I've told y'all before, but I had a man told me his whole life he was negative. It's just how he was raised. It's like you said, Victoria, sometimes we're that way and we don't realize it because it's just how we grew up. It's how our mind has been programmed. But he was just always so negative, but just little by little, he was listening to Sirius XM actually, and he just said, he just started developing this different perspective, getting up in the morning and being grateful. And he told me, he said, the people at work said, you're like a different person. What happened to you? Well, it was all reprogramming your mind to just, man, I saw something a while ago on Instagram, but somebody was talking about, and I believe it, if you talk about your problems all the time and if you focus on your problems, well, you're going to have problems because you're accentuating it. You're drawing that in. And again, I know it's not, hey, Joel, I'm dealing with cancer. I'm dealing with something. I realize you're not hiding your head, but I do think there's a better perspective to say, okay, yeah, I'm fighting this battle, but God, you're still in control. And I think a real part of faith is to go through challenges, and in one sense, nobody knows you go through it because you're consistent, you're stable, you have that good attitude, you're grateful. Doesn't mean that things aren't going on in your life, but again, you know that God's fighting your battles, and I think that's a mark of faith, to just, you know, it's consistency. And I love that.
That's good. I know we're all trying to grow towards that place, and I think that's what everybody would say is, yeah, we want to be that person. We want to grow to that place, and so that's why I hope talks like this help us do that, just to be able to just, you know, relate to one another and see, you know, how we can get better.
Yeah, so good. And you know what started this talk today was, we're in a season at Lakewood we're calling Over and Above, and we do it every year, or we do some kind of theme every year. But I don't know, to me it's important to just, I guess we stretch our faith always, but this is just this next 2 or 3 weeks. Let me just encourage you to stretch your faith and, you know, believe God for greater things in your life. And, you know, I hope things are good, but you know what? God wants us to go further. You know, I was speaking, you know, Sunday at church about over and above. And, you know, part of that over and above is, you know, releasing your faith in an over and above way, and giving helping others and believing and stretching. And it's easy to get comfortable. You don't want to rock the boat, and I'm comfortable where I am, but I don't know. I just hope you'll stir your faith. And we talked about it, Lakewood. I see it on the wall here. How at Lakewood we reach people through the media and through relief, through humanitarian efforts, and also to empower the next generation. So that's what we've challenged the church, and challenging you too, just to, how can we grow? Let's be further along next year than we are right now. And I believe it starts right here. Man, I got to make room. I have to do this all the time. God, help me to make room for your abundance. Make room to impact people in a new way. And it's easy to get stuck there, but over and above is what we're believing for each one of you. But, I was challenging everyone yesterday is, but you sow a seed, do something, your time, your talent, your treasure, some way do something over and above. Even if it's getting up in the morning a little bit earlier and say, God, I'm going to spend this 10 minutes with you. I don't think, just something that you're stretching your faith to say, God, I'm ready for you to do something. So the principle behind it is when you go over and above, that allows God to give over and above blessings back to you. And so that's what we want to see for each one of you.
Yeah, when I think about being an over and above person, I love that because it's not just one area. I want to be an over and above person in as many areas, if not all, that I can. And it's a mentality of thinking, can I be a little kinder to someone? Yeah. Can I, stop and open the door when I'm coming in, a door and just hold it for someone? Or even as small as, getting in the habit of just saying thank you. I think it's just so important to just be that person of excellence and over and above, even if it's something you're afraid to do. You know what? When you have this over and above mentality, you can say, well, you know what? I can take that step of faith because I'm really not doing it on my own. I'm doing it in honor of God, in honor of what He wants to do. It says in Ephesians 3:20 that God does exceedingly abundantly above all we can ask, think, or imagine. So we serve an over and above God. And when we do it in honor of Him, knowing that He has a heart of over and above, it helps us shape our heart to be over and above people. So that's kind of what I love, that whole phrase. It's so easy to remember, over and above. I want to be that kind of person, whether it's in my giving, can I give more than I normally do? I think about that story when we first got married, where not long after, maybe three plus years after we've been married, I ended up quitting my job because we were doing a lot of traveling with your father, going overseas, helping him do things. And I'll never forget, I came to you and I go, Joel, I don't want to change our tithe. I want to continue to tithe as if I still had my job. And you were like, let's do it. And even that was just over and above because we were getting, I got a pay cut. I wasn't working anymore, but I thought, you know what, Lord, I don't want to go backwards. I want to go forward. And just because I've made a choice to do something else in another area, you can give me that over and above blessing. And through the years, we saw Him just bless us, not only financially, but with our family, with the abilities, things that we really depended on Him to do. And so, that's I love that whole over and above. It's easy to remember. It's easy to have a mantra. It's like, I am an over and above person.
That's so good. And I like it in every area, Victoria, the giving and at work. I mean, I got employees here or people that I work with. I can tell you they're over and above people. They make us look excellent and just, it makes us look excellent, the whole, my whole team. And so I think it's just, I have a message I want to do on that because it's about Joseph, but he was in this bad situation working for somebody as a slave, but man, he excelled. And I think, man, when you have that kind of attitude, that kind of maturity, you're not complaining, you're not bitter, but you're an over and above person, And sometimes I think it's just like we were talking earlier, it's the attitude, you got an over and above attitude. Other people are complaining, but not you. You got that smile, you're being good to other people, and it's a great, great way to live. But you said something a while ago, Victoria, about, you don't always feel like it or you have to stretch. And I saw that one question here. It says, when was a time God asked you to take a step of faith that didn't make sense at first? And I know you've all felt that at times too. God, how can I do this? Well, a couple of things, y'all heard the story of the Compaq Center, but we've just been pastoring a few years and that door opened, and I don't even know how I did it. I was more naturally quiet and reserved, but when that friend told me at lunch that, hey, you ought to call and find out about the Compaq Center, Victoria, I didn't even think twice. I called the mayor. And you know what? Maybe I'd do that now, but 25 years ago, but you know what? It's the hand of God. God gives you grace to do what you're called to do. But I do think you have to take that step of faith. And it was over and above for me, Victoria, And I called the mayor, and he was very gracious. He knew my parents, and he said, I think that would be a great thing for Lakewood to have the Compaq Center. But there are these destiny moments in your life where you have to say, God, I'm going to step into what you called me to do. So I don't know, you're gonna see some of those times, and in your mind, at least in mine, but I'm sure it'll be like the same in that, you know what, everything said, Joel, you're not qualified to pastor, and you can't get that building. I mean, Victoria and I, we had season tickets there to watch the Rockets, and I went on many dates at the Compaq Center with Victoria, and then after we were married, but who would have ever thought? Speaking of over and above, and I know y'all hear me say it a lot, but who would have ever thought we'd be in the Compaq Center? And I never dreamed I'd be a pastor, a minister, and being able to talk to you today. And I never say that to brag on me. I'm bragging on what God can do. I think that's what an example of over and above, Victoria. We never dreamed we would be here. We were, you know what, we loved serving my parents and serving at Lakewood. I love being behind the scenes. And I was telling somebody the other day, Victoria, it's interesting. I'm not any more happy today than I was back there serving behind the scenes. It's just God gives you grace for every season. You be excellent where you are, not just always trying to get to the next place. But I do believe there's these times you have to stretch and just go over and above.
Yeah, just because you're an over and above person doesn't mean you're always comfortable.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes is comfortable. And some of the decisions that we made and did were not necessarily comfortable, but they sure were rewarding.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to step out of that place of comfort to go to the next place and to get that reward. Because you think about every Sunday when you want to get a message, that's not always comfortable. You work at it, you study, you really seek God for that message. But then when it's over and done with, you feel like you've accomplished something because you please God.
Yeah.
And I think that's one kind of standard that we can set for ourselves. What is over and above what pleases God? Mm-hmm. We don't do anything crazy. Like, I'm going to go do this. I don't know. When that question said it doesn't make sense, I don't know about what that phrasing is, because it will make sense if you walk with God. You'll know in your heart that, this is something I believe God wants me to do. Now, it may not feel comfortable. It may feel like it's over my head. It may feel, like it may not make a difference. But, I think it will make sense in the fact that God gives you peace. And we always talk about, peace. And that's how God is kind of helps us move. He's like our umpire. He's going to call us in or out. But when we go with his peace, and follow that peace, even though it's maybe not comfortable, I believe that's when we know we're in the will of God, and we know that, we're doing something that will make sense.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I feel like that, we're not saying just go do something, that doesn't make sense. That to me is like, it's going to be uncomfortable, but God's going to lead you and it will make sense.
Yeah, I think, Victoria, it's what you said. You're going to have the peace down there. I think the gist of the question is, it's over my head. In a sense, it didn't make sense for us to get the Compaq Center. That's the nicest building in Houston. That's on the main freeway. But I think that you're right. There's going to be a peace. And it's even, when I say there's going to be a peace, I still was, had concerns. It's not like I had this amazing faith where I think that's still there. But, like we talk about, you do it afraid. You do it honoring God, saying, I would say, God, this is what I believe I'm supposed to do with my life, and take this step of faith. And you know what? If you miss it, God's a good God and merciful. He'll give you another chance. And so you can't shrink back and think, well, I'm not going to try because I may fail. Even when I started ministering, I remember distinctively in me, I thought, I may not be good at this. It may not work. People may not come. But I always thought, I can go back to doing television production. I thought, that's not the end of the world. My thing to me is when God presents you an opportunity sometimes there's not enough. That was a destiny moment. I didn't want to go to my dogs are here with me. I didn't want to go to my grave not knowing what would have happened if I'd have stepped up to pastor the church. And so I took that step of faith.
Well, there was an open door too.
Yeah.
You know, there was an open door. Your father had passed. Some things were lining up. You know, you had spoke for him right before he passed.
Yeah.
You had that sense in you that the Holy Spirit was moving you in that direction, even though you couldn't see. And that's the case. We can't always see down the road. We can just see the next step. And I think that's the part that can be fearful, especially for some personalities. You know, I'm the kind of personality that I kind of want to know about what's going to go on in the future. But God doesn't always do that. He gives us one step at a time. And if we'll just trust Him as we go, we can build more faith and we can build more trust in Him. So I think that's what happened even with the Compaq Center. Because just because we got through one door doesn't mean the next door opened easily.
Yeah.
You know, so we had to really believe and stand firm and actually be strategic.
Yeah.
You know, there is a strategy too that God will give you in all this. So I just think if you depend on God and you're looking to God and you're not looking necessarily to people, and that's one thing I love about you. You're a man of prayer. I can say that you pray earnestly about decisions. You pray earnestly just about life. You spend time in prayer. You make that time for prayer. And so, I mean, I think that's huge, and I think that's really helped you in your life so much.
It definitely has, Victoria, 100%. Somebody asked the question, how do you stay focused in the, with all that's going on in the world? And I think that's back to it. I mean, I like to start the morning off just getting, like Victoria said, prayer, thanking God. I quote the promise. I really pray the promises. Lord, I thank you that I am equipped and empowered. I thank you that I can do all things through Christ. But I think that's, how do you stay sane? How do you stay positive and motivated with all that's going on in the world? Again, it's back to your focus. But I do think, you have to keep yourself built up. I know you guys are busy. You got 1,000 things to do. You can always be giving, but you're not good to your family and friends and even your employer if you're not built up and if you're not at your best. So I'm pretty good at that, just having to say no to things. And hey, Sunday's a busy day. Sunday afternoon, I need to just have time to rest. Today was an easy day. So I just think taking care of yourself, keeping yourself built up. And one thing, I like to exercise. I like to ride bikes. But Jonathan and I like to play tennis now. And that helps me to stay, it's you're a three-part being. You got a physical body, your mental, your spiritual, and then, taking time every morning to me I'm building up my spirit, man, praying and thanking God, quoting the scriptures, reading. I think when sometimes we try to give from a depleted place, and that's what's, it's not helping us to stay focused. So I think that's all important.
Yeah, it's so good.
One of them here, Victoria, was, what's the biggest blessing or the biggest over and above in your life?
Oh, wow, that's big.
I'll answer mine. But, besides, Jesus giving us salvation, it would be Victoria. I met somebody amazing and just, look what all we've got to do together.
Yeah.
And, God gives you people in your life and, man.
Family, help.
Family, yeah.
A wonderful church to minister, in and to, and great people that come to the church and listen like you guys do. I mean, we know that that's just the blessing of God. That's just not something we take for granted, but that we can even sit here and be an encouragement.
Yeah, we feel so blessed. What's the biggest sacrifice you've made and that you've seen God bless in? Victoria, anything you see there?
Well, I mean, I think just putting yourself out there, to do things you don't think you can do, then God will bless you. And that's really a sacrifice, Of course, sacrificing time to spend with Him, to pray, to believe, because it's easy to get so busy that you just don't find the time to spend with God, or you don't find the time to spend with your family, or the things that would please God. And I think that is a sacrifice. I think you sacrifice your time and your efforts and things like that to please God. So I feel like, those are not, they're sacrifices because you have to carve that time out. But you get way more for your sacrifice. You get the blessing of God. You get your rest for your soul. You know whose you are and just all that. So I think that's what I think is a sacrifice. I mean, I love to spend time with my family. You know, I love to spend time with you. I love to spend time with the Lord.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, it's hard to sometimes look at it as a sacrifice because it's grown into this love thing. So I love to do.
Yeah, that's so good. Okay, we're going to get some real practical ones here. Catch a few of these. How can I be kind to someone even when they irritate me all the time? I love that.
Think about Joseph. That's what I like when you just talked about Joseph
know.
and how he truly, when you said that, I thought he truly was an over and above person, and how God just allowed him to go over and above every situation that he faced. You know, he didn't just run into it and, you know, fall back and give up. He literally was able to go over and above that situation and please God.
Yeah, it's so good.
And that's the same thing with irritating people. Think about his irritating brothers. I mean, you can't get more irritating than your brothers selling you to a band of, you know, people that were coming through, and then still keeping a good attitude at the end. So
yeah, it's so good. I think too, you have to, you know, you go back to, you have to be the bigger person. You have to, you know, rise above certain things. I talk about this a lot, but sometimes God's not removing someone or something that's irritating you because he's waiting for you to get past it. Can you handle it? Can you grow past it? I like this thought about don't give someone else your thermostat. You know, if you're letting them upset you every time you go to work or that whatever, spouse or kid or whatever it is, you're giving them your thermostat. You're letting them control you. So you got to take that back and say, okay, God, I can handle this and I'm going to keep my joy. And, you know, again, you only have so much emotional energy each day. Man, don't give it away to people at work. You need that. And so I know it's not easy and when you're not getting credit or somebody's not treating you right, but I just think life is too short to let your happiness be based on somebody else's decisions. And that may be a coworker that, man, I hope God changes them. But what if they don't change for 20 years or 10 years? Don't tell me you're going to, you know, go and be irritated for the next 10 years. You know, God, you've given me the grace. Get prayed up before you go. You may have to overlook some things.
you could pray them out. Just kidding.
You can overlook some things. And you can pray, God, I pray that you remove this. But God, until you do, I'm going to keep a good attitude. And I'm going to rise above this. And I think a lot of these are tests that we have to pass. And I'm not saying it's easy. It's, you know, it's family and all that stuff. But again, I go back to, you know, life's too short. This day's a gift God has given us. And you know me, I got plenty of people that don't like me on the internet and things, but I give that no attention. You know, God's been good to me. My heart's pure toward him. I believe I'm doing what I'm supposed to. So I'm good at tuning things out and just, you know, you've heard me talk about it. Some people are never going to like you. They may never accept you, but that's okay. You know, you can move forward and fulfill your purpose, but don't give them your thermostat. Don't let them take your joy.
You know, too, you said a minute ago, you know, don't let them control your emotions. I think sometimes we try to control people. We're trying to manipulate them to do what we want them to do, or we're trying to be doormats so they'll just like us. And I think when you just let them be who they are and just say, you know what, I can't change this person. I'm just going to let them be who they are, you know, and just, I'm going to, you know, basically know that it can't affect me if I'm not trying to control the situation because I've got so many other things in my life that I can be doing. And I think, too, that sometimes we try to control them. We want to control the situation, and that's frustrating because there's no way you can control somebody. And so I think, too, that's another aspect or another a part of that frustrating thing when people are acting a certain way or doing a certain thing. But just, you know, you just got to let those things go and just say, it's my health and my mental attitude and mental health is way more important than me just controlling this person, you know, because I've got God's got big things for me to do.
Yeah.
He's got things for me to accomplish. And so, like you said, you can't spend your energy on that.
Yeah, that's so good. That's really important. There's a couple questions in here about loss, and, you know, people are sending condolences for my mom. And you may not know, but Victoria's dad passed just a week ago, you know, and he was 94, and his health had been going down, so it was, you know, I guess it was expected in a sense, but so we've gone through a lot of loss in the last couple months. But I'll speak to my mom, Victoria. Maybe you can say something, but just about my mom's passing. You know, I've said it, but there's no, it's so much easier when there's no regrets. And my mom and I, we used to go to dinner every Monday after my radio program that comes on a little while. And, you know, we spent that time together every week for the last, you know, years that I was in town and saw her at church and all. So I think that made it so much easier. I think the other thing too is my mother passed. I try to find the good, and you know, your situation may not be the same, but my mother passed healthy in a sense, meaning that she was at church 2 days before praying for people, and she just went quickly that night in her home, and so I think that all helped. And then when she passed, you know, of course there's still a shock, but I just felt a peace. It was way different than with my dad, because my dad left at 77 and I was 36 years old, but
Your mom was 91.
My mom was 91. She lived a good life, and so this was very different. But I felt such a peace, and even she passed on a Wednesday. I was here in this building at 4 o'clock on that Wednesday, and my friend Johnny and I, these guys were doing all the lighting here. It's our new studio, and I got a call from Lisa, and you know, she told me that Mom wasn't responding for her calls and stuff, and I knew something was wrong. We drove a mile from here, and the policeman asked to talk to me and said, your mom's deceased in her house. But that was on a Wednesday. Well, I prepare for my messages. I start preparing on Wednesday, and then on Thursday I really prepare. Then on Friday I write. Well, that was late Wednesday. I thought, oh man, I can't speak this weekend because I don't even know what. But, you know, just the grace of God for every season. When I woke up Thursday morning, like at, you know, 4 in the morning, I thought, oh, I know exactly what I can share. You know, just lessons I learned from my mother, and all these thoughts came. I just wrote them down, had a meeting that morning with our team and family at the church at 10, but I didn't even have time to prepare on Thursday because I was doing that other, but I had that down in me, and then Friday I wrote it just as easy as can be. What I'm saying is just, you know, there's grace. I just felt the grace for every season, even the memorial service. You know, Stevie Wonder called, can I come sing? All these other people just fell into place. But it's just the grace of God, the transition, my mom going to heaven. And so I felt that peace. And I know we all go through loss. It's different ways. But I know God, you know, receives our loved ones into His hands. And if there's any lesson, I'm not here to preach, but man, take time for the people you love. You know, don't let their, you know, I think it was easier for me because there were no regrets. Right. And sometimes, you know, you get petty things. Oh, I'm not speaking to them, or I'm mad at them, or this. Man, life's too short for all of that. But Victoria, you took care of your dad. Her dad was an amazing man. He worked at NASA. Victoria was born in Huntsville, Alabama, where her dad worked with Werner von Braun, who made rockets that sent men to the moon. And so her dad was really, really smart, mathematician, and
smart like me.
Smart like her, and super kind, super generous, the most kind, generous man. He helped us so much, and just always there to take care of Jonathan and our kids. But so her dad, then they moved here when she was a baby to NASA, and your dad worked for the space station for those many years, then started his own business. But good man, 94 years old. He started going down in health a little bit. But
last years too. So yeah, the last little bit. But you know, it's like you said, when it's a parent and you know they live till 94, you're thankful for heaven. You're thankful that they know the Lord. You're thankful. And even my dad was pretty not doing well the last couple of days, and I was like, Dad, do you still pray? And he wasn't really talking much, but he shook his head yes. And you know, it's just interesting because that's a natural progression when you lose your parent, you know, and I thank God for heaven and thank God for a good brother and, you know, that we could come together in our family. But I know it's difficult maybe if it's a child or you lost someone too early. But you just got to thank God for heaven. You got to thank God that, you know, you were able to spend time with them. And it's hard, and it's just time. Sometimes it's just time that heals. But I think even in my case, it's like we spent one night, we actually got together with my brother's family and my family, and we ate my dad's favorite foods. We ate spaghetti, we drank Coke because he loved Coke, and we ate ice cream. And we watched videos of him, and it was just very healing. So I think too, remembering the good, like you said, and just seeing them when they were young, and you know, just doing the things that we always remember them is I think so healing as well. Because really, I feel like I'm carrying on my father's legacy. You know, you were able to bring that message of, you know, what I learned from my mother because there was legacy there. And so I think you get that legacy by spending time and by respecting and honoring your parents, even if they aren't doing exactly what you want them to, or they're irritating, or they give you too much advice, or whatever the case may be, because that's what parents do. But they're doing the best they can do. So I don't know. I just feel like there's healing in remembering the good and knowing that, you know, God's with them, that He's got them in the palm of His hand, and that we're going to see Him again someday.
Yeah, it's so good. You should have seen the home videos. You should have seen Victoria when she was little and when we were first dating. She was something. She still is. But
Thanks.
We laugh so much. Well, guys, it's been awesome being with you. We're praying for you. We're believing for God's best. And so step into this over and above.
Yeah.
Just receive it into your spirit. Do something that's over and above, you know. Share your friendship, your time, your talent. And just we're believing you're going to see God do some unusual things in your life. He's got you in the palm of His hand. There are several questions in here, and we'll wrap up here about waiting. And, Joel, you know, I'm not seeing anything happening, but man, just because you don't see it doesn't mean God's not working. You just keep doing the right thing, keep being faithful, because God sees the sacrifices you're making. He sees you going the extra mile, and you know, He sees you putting up with somebody that's irritating you, taking that high road. Your time is coming. I mean, I've seen it in my own life, Victoria, and I never planned on doing this, but those 17 years behind the scenes, Victoria and I both, we tried to be excellent. We tried to do our best. We weren't perfect, but boy, you just stay faithful where you are, keep doing the right thing, and you're going to come into these destiny moments where God does something over and above in your life. And you can see it all through the Scripture, and I know you've seen it even in your past, but let me tell you, the best part of your life is still in front of you. I mean, the fact that you're tuned in and honoring God with your life, we just speak that victory over you. So stay in agreement with God. Know that there's nothing you're facing that's a surprise to Him, and we're standing in faith with you just for healing and, you know, freedom from addictions or depression or whatever it may be, or seeing dreams come to pass. I mean, that's what I pray every day for all of you guys. Just, Lord, let them bloom, let them blossom, bring them spouses, bring them contracts, bring them opportunities. I mean, God wants us to bloom, to blossom, to flourish, and that's what we're believing for each one of you, and love you very much.
Yeah.
But Victoria, give a final word and I'll say a prayer.
I'm in agreement. We love you. We want you to draw close to God. I mean, that's the safest and best place to be, looking to Him always for your help and believing that He will do what you can't do. Do what you can do, and God will do what He can't do.
That's so good. Let me pray. Lord, thank you for all those listening and watching today. Lord, I thank you that you do have them in the palm of your hand. Lord, for fighting their battles. Lord, those that are discouraged or facing disappointment, Lord, I just pray that hope will fill their hearts even today. Lord, show them a sign of your favor. Lord, do something unusual, uncommon. Lord, I thank you that they will become all that you've created them to be. Lord, help us all to live over and above, to do more than we have to with our time, our talent, our treasures. Lord, we're going to stretch, we're going to believe, and Lord, I thank you that you will do over and above in our friend's life. Lord, we've seen you do it in the past, but we believe the best is yet to come. I speak healing, wholeness, freedom, favor, victory, abundance, divine connections. Lord, I thank you for the new things that you're doing in Jesus' name. Well, we love you guys. We hope to see you again this weekend. A couple weekends from now, November 2nd, we're going to have an over and above weekend just of giving, of faith, believing for miracles and breakthroughs. But tune in whenever you can. Know that we love you.
Bye.